Okay, I'm just out of the post office. Nothing to see except yet again conservative mail, so that's in the garbage. No other mail, but I am loving having a post office box. I love it. Eventually I feel like more stuff will come there, and I am going out to get myself a little treat. It's such a beautiful sunny day, but going out to get myself a treat. I've had a long few months. It is so sunny. I'm like day glow, but the treats have been acquired. I got this giant palmier, which I'm so excited about, and a pistachio cruffin. Very exciting.
The supporters have responded to what happened at the near shooting at the Lettuce Correspondents Association dinner.
I have an interview in about 20 minutes. I'm going live on the radio. I haven't done this. It's been a minute. Last year I was on BBC World Service. Today I'm going to go on CKNW, a local radio station here in Vancouver, and I'm going to talk about the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Canada that was just announced by Carney. They reached out to me yesterday because they saw my TikTok and they want to talk. So I'm a little nervous. This is the behind the scenes of me set up. I have everything ready ahead of me on my desktop, and I am going to spend the next 10 minutes meditating. I do this before most Zoom calls. I'm going to jump on my Apple Fitness and I'm going to do a little meditation. I'm going to get ready for the meeting, and then hopefully it goes well. Fingers crossed.
All right, perfect. Okay, there we go. We are about 2 minutes away from the start of the segment, so I'll just have you on standby for Mike.
Awesome, thank you.
How is it going to work? Let's discuss with my guest now. Kat Arnett. Kat is a writer and commentator. Kat is very popular on social media at It's Kat Arnett on TikTok.
We're also in this very strange situation where we're having to pivot our entire international and domestic strategies at the same time. Because we're pivoting away from the US, Carney has said that we have the intention of getting double non-US investment immediately, but we also want to get $1 trillion in the next 10 years. It is a hard name, Sovereign Wealth Fund, when so many in this country are struggling. You know, nobody wants to hear about the wealthy. Yeah. And one of the initial pushbacks I heard was people saying this is only going to benefit the wealthy people in Canada who can afford to invest. And that's totally understandable. But I think what's being overlooked is this is a different type of vehicle for businesses as well. So up until now, we've had the private sector investing in stuff, but Canada can only loan money through like the Canada Infrastructure Bank. They're not getting a long-term equity stake. And that is what Carney is stressing here, is we're getting an equity stake in things that are being built. Okay. The interview went really well, I think. I had a really good time. And now I've done a quick change. I have a meeting with my client, and so I'm just gearing up for that. I've had my coffee. I have my water, and now I'm going to have a Zoom meeting with my client. And eventually, at some point, I will have lunch, but not quite yet. I'm not even sure how long this meeting is going to take. Oh my goodness. I am just sitting at the hospital. Dad's been in for shoulder surgery, and we're trying to take him home today, but parking is crazy. I think I'm next to two of the only free spots in this whole area, so I'm just waiting to hear about going to pick him up. Okay, it turns out Dad's actually going to be a few hours, so I have stopped at Sprouted Oven. I got myself a Raisin Bran muffin and a pain au chocolat because balance. I'm going back home for a little while. It's been a month. It's time for another coffee chat. And this time I'm doing cold brew. Nespresso is not a sponsor for this, although if you are listening, Nespresso, girl could use some coffee. All right. I don't even know where to begin. We're coming out of the second half of April. I cannot believe we're in spring already. But the weather, it is boiling hot. We're at like 25 degrees outside. My sunroof is open. It is feeling like the best parts of summer already. I'm gonna go through this cold brew way too fast. I recently discovered the Nespresso cold brew capsules. Again, not an ad, but if you're listening, Nespresso. I recently discovered them. This is just Nespresso and barista oat milk, the Earth's Own barista oat milk. But also, if you add some sweetened condensed oat milk into this, I cleaned so much of my house when I was drinking that. Just a hot tip. I digress. This is so far more about coffee than it is about chat. It's been such a crazy month. My dad had full shoulder replacement surgery. So we're now moving into a period of time where it's just sort of around the clock caring for him. It went really, really well, but it is a schedule of like making sure the pain management and the ice packs and does he need to be fed and everything else, because he can't use his dominant arm. So we're helping him out with that, but he's very positive, and so far the pain has been pretty good. As far as it doesn't hurt that much, he says. So far, fingers crossed. But yeah, other than that, I did an interview with CKNW. There's been a lot of stuff that I've been talking about on TikTok to do with economics, which it's interesting. For anybody who might know me personally, they're like, are you the person to be talking about economics? Hear me out. I am not great when it comes to like personal banking. I have been somebody working in a creative industry for 26 years now. Freelancers don't make a ton of money. So when you're asking me about my own money, probably not the best. But when it comes to sort of large economic policy, international stuff, I'm okay with that. And I did have the good fortune of working alongside a really brilliant woman who worked in environmental finance and taught me so much. And at the time I worked with a company where I got a really good chance for a couple of years of doing investor relations. So I really got to know the inside track of like project finance and investor relations and that kind of stuff. So weirdly, I've taken a bit of a turn on TikTok and I've been talking about, the Defense Security Resilience Bank and the Sovereign Wealth Fund and other stuff that's happening. So that's why I ended up being on CKNW to talk about that. And I'm having a lot of fun with it. I've been having a lot of fun doing sort of like explanatory videos of being like, this is happening and this is what that means. Because I feel like there's a big part of what's going on in the world right now, and I've really noticed it in Canadian politics, is people jump immediately to teams. Like, well, I should hate this because I'm NDP, or I hate this because I'm a liberal, or whatever else. They immediately break it down into like a team sport instead of taking a step and going, what is this? Do I agree with it? Is it sort of just like a regular part of business? That kind of thing. And so for me, I'm having a moment where I'm just sort of taking a step back and looking at things a little bit more high level. And I'm falling back on the thing that I have been doing professionally for a long time, which is communications. And my specialty, my little niche that I've been doing is working with people who are like super smart engineers, scientists, tech people, and trying to understand what they're doing and then explaining it to non-tech people. Because that's a really key piece. Like, if you can be a super genius who invents this really great thing that's going to be awesome for humanity, but if nobody understands what it is, then you can't really get anywhere with it. So that's what I used to do professionally, and I've been sort of drawing on that recently for what I've been doing on TikTok. I've also been doing a lot of sort of, over the past few vlogs, you will have seen this, rethinking about my own brand and my own business and what I want for my future. I took a good year off. I got laid off from my previous corporate job in October of 2024. They just were shifting around the business, and they didn't need to have somebody in charge of marketing and market research anymore and communications. So it was a real shock to the system. And I ended up just taking time because it was a very busy job. I was full in all the time. So it took a toll. And I also had long COVID through a lot of that job. So I just needed a break. I needed a rest. So I took all of 2025 to really sort of reevaluate. And I kept my eyes out. I was still looking for work out there. But I really started to realize I've been pursuing a lot of different things and being pulled in a lot of different directions over my life. And I wanted to think more strategically about what this means for my future. Now that I'm in my 40s, what's important to me, how I want my day-to-day life to look is also something that I really think about. So that's what I've been working on. And then in 2026, I decided to launch Evergreen Post and take things into my own hands a little bit more. I'm still working on it. I'm still shaping it. But I really love talking on the radio. I really love having different opportunities, the client that I'm working with and freelancing with them. So I think right now it's about pursuing the things that I really believe in and then staying true to what I've been working on for most of my career now. When I started out, I thought I was going to be a photographer when I was 17. I actually started working professionally as a photographer at 17, and I was working in a film lab, but I was doing professional gigs, proms, weddings, that kind of stuff, but at 17 when I was still in high school. And I thought that was the only thing I was going to do. And I was a good writer, but photography was something at the time that you could make a really good living at, not doing like weddings and things, but like magazine photography, editorial, advertising, that kind of stuff. And it was something that I felt, unlike writing, where I always was kind of good at it. And, you know, I didn't have the money to put myself through a university degree to just like study Shakespeare. Photography I could do practically. So I went to Langara and I put myself through night school there. And the night school programs allowed me to learn the mechanics, like the photography lighting aspect, but also the business and certain things about copyright. And it was taught by working professionals. It was very hands-on. And there's certain things that you can't just pick up on your own, especially back then, especially with the like really heavy duty lighting stuff that's quite dangerous. It can kill you if you don't operate it properly. So I took those courses and I thought that's what I'm going to do forever. And as soon as I graduated, Instagram launched and everything kind of turned on its head. And I think ever since it's been a real sort of just going with whatever's happening at the time. I became a photojournalist, which I didn't see coming. I thought I was going to go into like fashion and editorial. Nope, I became a sports photojournalist and other things, and had a really great time doing that. But it has been now 26 years that I have worked in some form of media. I've worked on film sets, I've worked as a photographer, I've worked as a writer, I've done all kinds of different writing jobs. I've worked in corporate communications, I've worked for clients separately. I've done all kinds of things. I do web design and graphic design, and I've worked in photo labs doing film and also doing all the digital stuff. I do historical photo retouching, like all kinds of manner of things. You name it, I've done it. And now over the past few years, that also includes video production and video editing and audio and all that kind of stuff. So it's a lot. But one of the other things that I've sort of honed over time, and it seems funny because, you know, when we look at the content creator space, there's so many young people, and a lot of people think of it as Gen Z, but millennials really invented the idea of social media. And us elder millennials remember life before the internet even. I mean, one of my first jobs was working at TELUS, and I was the person who used to switch people from dial-up to ADSL. And it was like a big thing at the time that people were like, I don't know about losing my dial-up internet. So it's amazing to see how far things have come. So millennials kind of have always been in social media. I have always been really active online from like early days, GeoCities, you know, tripod websites, all the way through sort of every iteration of social media and message boards and that kind of stuff. I find it so interesting. Like, for example, TikTok, some people are like really all in on TikTok, and some people are really all in on YouTube, and then some people are only doing Substack. And I find it so interesting because for me, I approach it as my message isn't going to change who I am and what I do, my writing, my photography, who I am isn't going to change. And the social media is just a different vehicle. Like, I loved Tumblr so much. I am still sad that Tumblr is gone, especially back in the days when there was people getting like book deals from Tumblr, and you could talk to like Roxane Gay on there, and like it was just so, there was so much art and writing, and it was so much fun. It's interesting when I talk to friends of mine who are younger, who are Gen Z, their memory of Tumblr is very different because they remember a lot of the fan pages. For me, I was there, but it was a lot of like original creators, original writing, original ideas. And I really miss that. But at the end of the day, it's just another social media. And so I've been able to sort of follow some of those creators through different iterations online. And it's been interesting to see everybody evolve. And for me, I always think, you shouldn't get bogged down in one specific website. You can't go all in on something. And something that gets brought up to me a lot is, you have a big following on TikTok. And yes, I do have a big following on TikTok. I'm very lucky in that regard that people find me interesting and they want to follow me. But it isn't the only thing that I do. And oftentimes people ask me if I have backup accounts. I don't have any backup accounts because my attitude is, if I lose my account, I lose my account. It isn't everything about who I am and what I offer and what I can do, but it's also certainly not anything to do with my career. I don't earn money from TikTok. I earn visibility, opportunities. Like I wouldn't get to be on the radio if they hadn't seen my video that day. But it isn't the be all end all for me. And when I watch newer creators, newer people who are just sort of getting into this, I always worry that they're going to lock in on one thing so hard and they're not really expanding what they could offer. I do think that probably has to do with if they see it as a more expansive communications career or influencing or, video making of any other type. I think it really matters what the intention is behind it. But for me personally, I love that I have a group of people who believe in what I'm doing. I hope they continue to stay with me, but I'm going to keep doing the work, whether that means on a very small audience on Substack or a bigger one on Threads or whatever changes. And also, we are at the total mercy of these tech giants, these whatever Zuckerberg is feeling of the day. Whatever they're deciding to do, we have no control over it. The only thing we can control is what we are putting out into the world. So for me, I really want to make sure I'm putting out good stuff that I believe in. I also want to make sure that I am using each avenue kind of appropriately in a way that is still building my career, still putting out there what I want to put out there. But I'm not losing sight of, I do have a website. I do have a katarnett.com website that you can just go to, and it will still have stuff about me. It will still have my projects. It will still have other things that I'm doing. That's kind of where I'm at with it. I really love social media. There's a lot of flaws that come along with it. There's a lot of the parasocial stuff like I talked about in my last vlog, but I do still really love it. I find each social media era and each social media account or type of social media has its own personality. So you kind of get a different flavor of me wherever you're going to follow me around the internet. It's still all authentically me, but my writing is different from how I appear in a video sometimes. So, but it is also something that I have advised other clients about, where they should be doing their social media. In previous work, people have brought me in specifically because I have seen it since the dawn of when it was coming out. I've been around so long that I kind of get the language of them in a very unique way. I'm not hyper fixated on certain things though. So for me, it's more important to match the personality of what you're doing with the type of app. So like the person who writes on Substack is going to be very different from the person who writes on Twitter. Could be the same. The other thing for me is I don't really get bogged down in analytics. I personally don't think it's that important. I know it's important to analyze for brand deals, and I do have my stats up on my website, but as a day-to-day personally for me, I don't hang what I'm doing on whether or not the algorithm is agreeing with me that day. It's not going to change anything about me. It isn't going to affect you long-term or the buy-in from your audience. And the most important thing for me is what I'm putting out there is true to me. It's I find getting really obsessed with, how many views you have and the how fast you got them and who's saying what and everything else can get really, you can get really in your head about it. And when you get really in your head, you stop creating in an authentic way. So for me, that's just not something I personally pay attention to. It's something as a business, like once a month at the end of the month, I'll sort of go through, update my stats, take a glance at it. But it's not something that I live in as a creator day to day to sort of understand. I also don't believe in being on your phone all the time. This is going to sound like a really old millennial of me, but I think it's okay to create some distance. I think people will stay. I think one of my favorite creators will come in and for a while she was just dropping one thing every like Tuesday or Wednesday. Some of the people that I follow on YouTube, they only upload once a week, right? And I love them for that. I love the absence a little bit. And I think even with something like TikTok, don't be attached to your phone. Being in the comments constantly or doing a lot of reply videos to comments, I've never really found personally that valuable. But also you yourself with your own brain, like you need some space and distance. You need to, for me, I need to be able to unplug because specifically the stuff that I'm talking about is a lot of news things, like I talk about what's going on in the world and culture. I commentate on stuff. I need to actually read about it. I don't need to be on TikTok getting the opinions of others about it. I need to actually sit down with like articles and white papers and read about things so that I can have an informed opinion. And oftentimes when I do make content like that about something that's like breaking issue, like the Sovereign Wealth Fund or whatever else, I don't go check out to see what everybody else has said first. In fact, I rarely ever check out what anybody else is saying. I do my own research. I look up any sort of reading that I need to do. I look into the history of things, and then I will make a video. But that video is not informed on what somebody else said, or it's not a reply to what anybody else is doing. It is really just my own thing. And I think that way you keep authentic to who you are and your voice and your opinions. And if you are trying to stand out at all, I think that's a lot more appreciated than just being one of the crowd. I know there are some people who have accused me, I don't know why, but accuse others of coordinating content. I've never really been part of any sort of group of creators. I know there are content creators who work together, and I don't really know that the political space has hype houses, but I do know that there are people who sort of like communicate with each other and they all have like a certain issue that they want to talk about and they all put out videos about that issue. I don't do that. It's not how I operate. I don't befriend other creators in that manner. Just not my vibe. I'm a very independent person in that way, and I will talk about something if I want to, and if I don't want to, I won't. But I'm also not planning out with my friends what they're going to talk about and if I should also talk about it. No. That style isn't for me. I think it could have a place, but it's just not my jam. It's just not who I've ever been and who I ever will be. When I choose to make videos, sometimes I'll make them 3 days in a row and then I will just stop for 4 days and then I'll go back. And I think it probably confuses the algorithm, but I'm still being authentic to who I am, and the audience doesn't seem to really mind either way, as long as I'm being consistent with my information and who I am, and my personality isn't changing. Like if I keep showing up as my authentic self, people seem to keep appreciating it. So that's what I'm going to keep doing. This coffee has been great. Coming up in May is probably going to be really busy. I am so behind on reading. I need to get my print club out right now. Over this weekend, I really need to get it. It's already Saturday. I really need to get my print club out as quickly as possible. I love it so much. I'm going to be honest. I wish that was my full-time job. Can we manifest this all together? I would love it if I could have like 500 or 1,000 members and make that my basic full-time income. because it is the most rewarding thing that I do. And right now I think there's like 8 people who subscribe since January, and I love every single one of them. I have so much fun doing it. It is so rewarding. I get to marry photography and writing and also share the things that I love with people and talk about my creative practice and what inspires me and help to maybe inspire them and what they're doing. It is ultimately the thing I probably spend the most amount of my own money on. I don't think I have even come close to breaking even, but yet it's my favorite part of my career, my job. It's the best thing that I do every month. So I have to do that. I have to catch up on reading. I haven't been spending enough time reading lately because I've been so busy with other things, and I need to catch up on my book club. April's pick, Bunny by Mona Awad, was awesome. And I have some very special mail that came in this big purple envelope. You may have seen people opening these. So I need to make a video for this for an amazing book that Chris Paul Rainbows has released. That is so exciting. So you will be seeing some bookish content coming out from me soon. You'll see what's in this. You'll see my review of Bunny, and then some more talks about future books as well. But yeah, so I think for May, there's going to be a lot of reading. I re-signed up for my CSA box, and I've been neglecting Raincoast Vegan, so I really want to try to get Raincoast Vegan back on track. It's my vegan food blog and YouTube as well. And obviously taking care of Dad. I need to get out in the garden. I haven't done any gardening at all. I can't believe that we are in May. This year's gone by so fast. And I don't think it has any signs of slowing down, but I am really excited. I just have this feeling that something is about to get really good really soon, and I'm trying to keep myself open up for opportunities and to the universe and just be like, okay, let's move into a different stage of my career now. I really want to take myself seriously as a freelancer and a content creator and just move forward with that. And it's a little bit scary, but pretty exciting too. Being able to freelance, being able to do content creation, honestly, is my happiest thing that I've done so far. Evergreen Post is making me happy, but the content creation making me happy. It allows me to have a lot of balance in my life, which, as somebody with, I'm mostly recovered now from long COVID. I still have PCOS, which is a chronic illness. And I, help with when my parents are going through things, like my dad right now going through his shoulder surgery and his cancer. It allows me balance that I don't necessarily find in a corporate setting where you have to clock in 8 hours a day. It can be a lot more stressful. It's definitely not as lucrative. I made so much more working in the corporate world, and I am barely scraping by, I'm going to be honest. But I am hoping it turns around because I do feel like this is really where I'm meant to be. So that's where I'm going into May, with a really positive attitude, really just sort of open to possibility and the universe and ready to say yes to things. Here's hoping it's going to be exciting. And I am going to finish this coffee and probably go put water in my bird bath because I have been neglecting the birds, and make dinner. We're having a taco salad tonight for dinner. I've been slowly feeding my dad vegan food and he seems to be enjoying it so far. So if you like this video, like, share, subscribe, tell a friend. If you're interested in receiving snail mail and a photographic print each month, check out katarnett.com with my snail mail club. It's called Evergreen Post. It's $12 Canadian every month. It ships to anywhere in the world. If you aren't following me on other social media, everything should be linked in my bio, but you can find me on Threads most days, TikTok most days, Substack at least weekly. I do a weekly news roundup, and I'm trying to get more into op-ed writing and carve out time for independent writing as well. Did I remember to say all these things? Yeah, I feel like I remembered it this week. My brain is all over the place, guys. Also, Nespresso Canada. If you're listening, hook a girl up. I would love to. I keep doing these coffee chats and I keep thinking, like, should I be reaching out to coffee brands? Because coffee chat has become my favorite part of vlogging, and talking about being a content creator in my life and everything else. Would love to get on the coffee train with one of you. If there's a coffee brand out there that's watching, especially if you're a Canadian, I'd love to work with you. Let me know. And until next time, I hope you're all well. Talk to you soon. Really quick editing note, I'm a couple of days late uploading my end of April vlog. I do apologize. Dad was in the hospital. I will talk about it a little bit more, but he was in the hospital, so I'm a little bit behind, but this is just the last half of April. And then the first half of May is going to continue on. I'm going to stick to the Thursday schedules. So apologies for being a few days behind, but I hope you understand.